My destiny is to once again become heavyweight champion of the world. Tonight is just another chapter in my life, one which will show everyone that the only limitations that exist are the ones we create.
Tonight in Reno, Nevada, George Foreman's dream continues.
See a one-round knockout here?
Well, you know, Jim, the late John Houseman in a television commercial said, "We make money the old-fashioned way. We earn it." Now, Jimmy Ellis has a great record, but against very suspect opposition. He has never fought 10 rounds in his life, and this is it. Maybe he's a good athlete. He may have heart. He may have desire, but he does not belong in the ring on his record and his experience with the George Foreman. This could be a very short fight.
Unless Ellis surprises us dramatically, or unless Foreman at age 42 has gone completely off the diving board all at once. George earned so much public respect and love with his performance against Holyfield. Does he sacrifice any of that by taking a fight like this?
Well, if I was George, I would try to get the fight over with early. Have you ever danced with a girl that can't dance?
Some of them have tried to dance with me, as a matter of fact.
Well, you know, they can make you look pretty bad. That's why, again, if I was George, I'd try to get this inexperienced guy out of there real early.
All right, well, we're going to see what happens. Gil Clancy told you earlier that George Foreman in his second career is a much more relaxed personality, a happier man. Let's go to Marshall, Texas with George to find out why.
Marshall, Texas is my hometown. My mother left here when I was 6 months, and I'd come back from time to time to visit, not knowing that one day this would be the place I'd settled. I'd always feel drawn to the country, to be with the cattle, be with part of the earth. Some people feel like they need to get away, find that peace of mind. Some go to the ocean, some to the mountain, but I go to the ranch. You can come out here and I feel like Paul Bunyan with 200 acres, paradise. To get out there with a fishing pole makes you feel so good within yourself. There's nothing like the country. As far as I'm concerned, when I get here, I find the true peace that I'm looking for. I don't like being away from people, but I do like a little space. And when I come out here in the night, there's no closer I feel to heaven itself than the few quiet moments I have here. The thing that changed my life most was that in 1965, I joined the Job Corps. They took me from Houston, Texas, way into Grants Pass, Oregon. I'd never seen a running stream.
I'm gonna take you to the barn.
The beautiful water, timbers, all of the land, the earth, I never thought existed. I thought it was all a concrete kingdom. Changed my whole world.
I'm gonna take you to the barn. Would you like to go to the barn with me? Huh? Here, that's what you get for being a good girl.
This ranch keeps me occupied. Then when it's time for a boxing match, I call it this my most relaxing hours because I can work, get in shape, and at the same time have the time of my life. What gives me the edge over the average boxer, I'll come out here in the woods, and I'll chop wood. Then I'll get in the ring with another guy who's been in the gym training. I'll have calluses all over my hand. Then you know that I'm the tougher, rugged man. Now, you know, I think all of the modern weight equipment and things of that nature, that's all fine and good, but at the same time, when it boils down to the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round, the rugged man, the outdoorsman, the fellow with the hatchet and the axe in his hand, he's going to be the one. That's what it was all about. Who's the toughest guy in the world? Not who's the prettiest, but the toughest. Having a second time around makes this most important for me because I'm enjoying life mainly because I note some of the things I missed previously. To get out there and pick up some grass or touch an animal, see a baby born, a calf born, these are things like this that can make and keep you happy at all times. My life right now is hardly built on my boxing career. If tomorrow someone would say, "Hey, George, there's no more boxing," it would hardly at all touch what I'm about because I got a good wife, a whole bunch of children. People ask me, what kind of ranch is this? I think it's a children's farm. We grow a lot of grass and a lot of children here. You know, I like the idea of being remembered as a boxer, but I think 10, 15, 20 years from today when people look back, I want them to remember that George Foreman was not afraid to pursue life at whatever, when everybody else thought their life was over. That at a middle age, I was still considering myself an athlete and ready to conquer the world. George Foreman came, he saw, he conquered.
And we bring you back live to the crowded Convention Center in Reno, Nevada. Coming up in just a few minutes now, George Foreman will enter the ring to take on Jimmy Ellis in the 73rd bout of his now legendary professional boxing career. Ellis, who played a little bit of strike replacement football with the Raiders a couple of years ago, tries to get ready to take the biggest step up he could ever conceivably have taken at this stage of his fledgling professional career. And for more on the bout, we go upstairs. Once again, our boxing analyst, Larry Merchant.
2 weeks ago, just before Evander Holyfield and Bert Cooper gave us that unexpected thrill, we got our first glimpse of Lennox Lewis, a very promising British-Canadian heavyweight. And they remarked at the time about his immediate future. He was looking for bums to fight, but his managers didn't want to fight anybody that good. Well, that was a slight exaggeration. It is, however, no exaggeration to ask of George Foreman's opponent tonight, Jimmy Ellis, is he a bum or is he that good? The truth of the matter is that George Foreman is so popular, so beloved, such a national natural resource that most of his fans don't care who he fights. And that gives him enormous clout in negotiations to handpick his opponent. Can he lose to his hand-picked opponent tonight? Well, Clint Eastwood doesn't lose to his opponents in his movies. Jimmy Ellis isn't a good villain, but he is an interesting opponent.
I would not pay to go see a football game, but I would pay big money to go see a boxing match.
What is this pigskin warrior's fascination with pugilism? Remember Ed Too Tall Jones, defensive end for the Cowboys, who thought the heavyweight crown would be an easy target? And wouldn't we all like to forget former Jet Mark Gastineau's continuing forays into the ring? Well, the latest convert from the NFL is 27-year-old Jimmy Ellis, a former Los Angeles Raider linebacker from Redondo Beach, California. He is undefeated and poised for the most public moment of his athletic career. Like so many Southern California children, Jimmy took to the outdoors and excelled at a number of sports. In high school, he wrestled before settling on football, and his performance on the gridiron attracted scouts from as far away as Idaho, who eventually gave him a full scholarship to Boise State. A three-time College Division All-America, Ellis was drafted by the Raiders in 1987 and achieved his only moment of fame on a Monday night game in the strike-shortened season. Eventually, he was cut, but it was easy to choose a new occupation.
You know, looking back at it now, really all I did when I was on the football field was fight. So really, it was an easy transition for me to go from football to boxing because I was boxing and football. Yeah.
Ellis's transition to the ring was facilitated by older brother John's career as a boxer. Now guiding Jimmy as co-manager, John has supervised the genesis of a professional fighter with no amateur bouts.
He came into the gym and trained for 1 month, and he had his first pro fight. It's been 2.5 years from that date, so I mean, it's incredible for a guy, for anyone to come into any profession and do that.
Apparently a quick learner, Ellis maintains focus through a diligent work ethic, a relic of his football past, and the help of Team Ellis. Team Ellis is John, business manager Jerry Carrere, and friend and fellow Raider Howie Long. As co-manager, Long lends a winning tradition to his young fighter.
Jimmy Ellis could set himself up for life off of this one fight. If he wins this fight, he's got $3-4 million. If he doesn't have a $3-4 million fight after the George Foreman fight, if he wins, he ought to fire his manager. That's me.
So how good is Jimmy Ellis? Fighting in relative obscurity over the past 2.5 years, he has disposed of all but 2 of his opponents by knockout. And the competition hasn't been the best, but even the greatest had their way on the path to the title. And as the boxing public has recently witnessed again, you can't totally rule out any challenger in this perplexing sport. Jimmy Ellis grew up watching George Foreman and has respect for his older heroes, but he thinks he's more than ready for that one chance in a lifetime.
George is just another level higher, and I'm even more motivated for this guy because it's just such a great opportunity. that I have, and it's easy. Motivation is easy. It's just hard work and determination and just nothing but boxing.
Should be interesting. It's one of those Japanese horror flicks, you know, Mighty Joe Young and Godzilla, you know, in the ocean outside of Tokyo. Two big guys going at it.
Well, here he comes. Mighty Joe Young or Godzilla, take your pick, emerging from his own cave in this ocean of Reno. Jimmy Ellis, 2 years, 17 fights, a total of 36 rounds in the ring, and he's going to fight George Foreman.
There are so many things going against this guy going into the ring. Remember Tommy Morrison? He was in excellent condition, but the tension got him. At the end of 2 rounds, he was dead tired. This kid, I imagine, if he goes a few rounds, he's going to get exhausted also. And meanwhile, Big George, big relaxed George, he could probably go 20 rounds.
You know, we have seen a few professional football players try to become boxers over the years, but none of them really had the total commitment to stick with it for long enough to get good at it.
Well, Too Tall Jones probably spent more time in the gym than any of them, but then he was completely exposed by a little guy about 5'10", about 190 pounds, by the name of Rocky Meneses. I think the kid was about 16, 17 years old, had him on the deck, and that was the last fight for Too Tall.
And there is the record for Jimmy Ellis, 16 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 15 knockouts. But now, here comes the caveat. In a number of understatements in that profile on Ellis, which we narrated for you, the most extreme was the one that said the opposition has not been the best. How much not the best? Well, take a look at the aggregate record of those 17 opponents for Jimmy Ellis. Between them, they've won 89 fights, they've lost 123, and they've been KO'd a total of 58 times. So you could say that he hasn't really been tested by the best.
That's the understatement of the year.
But let's also remember that those are the kind of fighters George Foreman fought before they finally fought Jerry Cooney and then Evander Holyfield.
Well, I think Foreman's opposition was much better. He was fighting smaller guys, but some of them at least were 10-round fighters. This kid has never fought 10 rounds, even himself.
Come on, Gil, most of them were bouncers.
Well, they bounced.
Yeah, George made him bounce, all right. He bounced 23 of 24 before fighting Evander Holyfield.
And here he is, one of the more remarkable athletic figures of our time, George Foreman.
And that knockout percentage, gentlemen, 90%, is the best of all time for a heavyweight. Foreman in career number 1, 45 wins, and the losses to Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Young. In career number 2, 24 wins, 23 by knockout, and the 12-round unanimous decision loss on April 19 to Evander Holyfield. Again, 65 knockouts in 72 bouts, the best knockout percentage of all time for a heavyweight fighter. And at age 42, where does Foreman rank among active fighters? Well, believe it or not, Saul Mambi is still laboring away and 2 years older than George. Larry Holmes is George's age mate at 42. The oldest man ever to go into the ring for a professional prize fight was Bob Fitzsimmons, who fought at age 51. Now, George Foreman fought at 257 pounds against Evander Holyfield in April, and he had suggested that he would like to be a little bit lighter than that in future bouts. It's a big concern for George. We'll take a look back at both weigh-ins in Atlantic City and here.
257 pounds.
Tonight, I'm looking to come out a little lighter and a bit quicker so I can build up points against the smaller guys. And if I don't get the knockout, I'm certainly going to be ahead on points.
257. 257.
George weighed exactly the same for this fight as for Holyfield, but he looked softer.
Yes, he did look softer, but he surprised me. He looked better than I thought he was going to look.
Tail of the tape, and of course the age difference is there right off the top. The weight difference is 29 pounds. Other than that, they are at least mildly similar. Rules for the bout, Harold Letterman.
Jimmy Ellis and George Foreman are going to fight using the rules of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. 3 judges scoring the fight. 10-point must system. No standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect, and you can be saved by the bell in a last round only. Jim?
Let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the ring at this time, to present the colors of the Nevada Air National Guard and to sing our national anthem, we have the LA Party Dolls. Now, as you all know, today marks the 50th anniversary of a day that shall indeed live in infamy. December 7th, 1941, the tragedy of Pearl Harbor and the beginning of the U.S. involvement in World War II. As we listen to the national anthem, let us never forget the horror of war, ladies and gentlemen. Let us always remember its victims, and at this, the beginning of the holiday season, let us all wish for peace on earth. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated, in association with Ron Weathers Incorporated, Al Goosen Promotions, and the undisputed, undefeated King of Beer, Budweiser, present the featured bout of the evening. This bout is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman Luther Mack, Commissioners Nat Carasali, Dr. James Nave, Bruce Lane, and Dr. Elias Ghanem, Executive Director Chuck Minker. Physicians in attendance, Dr. James McLennan, Dr. John Wickman, Dr. Craig Goodmanson, and Dr. Joseph Heflin. The timekeeper, Jim Carpenter. Counting for the knockdown seconds, Steve Menzel. The scoring for this bout will be done on a 10-point must system. The officials assigned at ringside are Patricia Jarman, Doug Tucker, and Dolby Shirley. And once the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, our referee, Richard Steele. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada. Let's get ready to rumble! 10 rounds of boxing in the heavyweight division. Introducing first, in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with blue trim, weighing an even 228 pounds. His professional record of 16-0-1 comes with devastating knockout power as he stopped 15 opponents in those 16 victories. He comes to us tonight from Boise, Idaho, undefeated and hungry for another victory. Ladies and gentlemen, right on, Jimmy Ellis.
Yes.
And in the red corner, wearing white trunks and weighing in at 257 pounds, fighting out of Houston, Texas, he brings a professional record of 69 victories, only 3 defeats, and his knockout total of 65 is more than any other contender in the world today. In the first part of his career, after winning the 1968 Olympic gold medal, he became the undisputed heavyweight world champion. A few years later, he walked away from the ring. Then, after a decade, he returned to begin part 2 of his career. For 3 years, he went undefeated, going through 24 opponents on his way to a heavyweight championship bout this past April. He didn't come away with a title, but he did win a huge victory in capturing the hearts of boxing fans around the world. Tonight, we turn the page to part 3, chapter 1 in the ongoing career of this boxing legend. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the former heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman.
Okay, I spoke to both of the fighters in the dressing room. I'm caution again. Obey my commands at all times. Shake hands and good luck.
A couple of things, Jim and Gil. First, let's remember that George is almost 43 years old. You never know what's going to happen in a prize fight. You never know when that last step up into the ring will be your last step up into the ring. And secondly, because of his age, I think it has to be stated here, I don't want to ever see George Foreman hurt.
Jimmy Ellis came to the arena a good 4.5 hours before the time when he would have to be in the ring. If he has stayed warmed up and ready in his dressing room, more power to him.
And you know, Larry, many a fighter in my career in this business, I've seen real good fighters, all of a sudden they walk up those 4 steps into the ring and they don't have it anymore. But again, this is a different George Foreman. He's just so sure of himself, so relaxed in there. And you know, when guys usually get hit and hurt with punches is when they're tight. And I just don't think George is, he just doesn't tighten up at all anymore.
George is standing still and pounding jabs against Ellis's forehead. Ellis is trying to get to George's midsection, and he's landed a couple times, but most of them are coming off of George's elbow. A little punch to the top of George's head as they break from the clinch. Right hand to the body, a left hand to the head. Foreman starting to show a little aggressiveness. More than a minute has gone by. Ellis is kind of grinning in there, as though he's having fun.
It's no fun eating those jabs, though, Jim.
Well, how good is George Foreman's jab, Gil?
The best in the business. That's always been his best punches, his left jab.
There's blood on the bridge of Ellis's nose already. He lands a left to Foreman's head. Misses another one. Foreman comes back with a counter left. It always surprises you at this stage to see that George is quick enough to counter in there. Ellis steps away to try to catch a breather. Foreman with another straight left in the mouth.
Hands up! One leg, George. One leg. One leg. Don't hold him. Punch. Hands up, George. Hands up.
There's the jab. 3 of them. 4 of them. Now he throws a right hand and sort of taps away with it. Tapping on the forehead with the right hand.
Turned southpaw, George.
Oh, look at this.
He's liable to show you anything in there.
Who's going to put the stool up? You are?
Blood on the bridge of Ellis's nose. His forehead has begun to turn pink.
Little left hook by George.
It looks as though Jimmy's going to survive round 1, though. Oh, solid right. Ellis was stunned for a second. He's eating jabs. George is going to let him out of the round. He didn't go for the kill.
Ellis said his main purpose would be not to let Foreman hit him multiple punches, which is how Holyfield survived, and he achieved that in that round.
If nothing else bad is going to happen to Jimmy Ellis, he's going to get very, very tired real early in this fight.
Don't you get close with this guy. You don't belong getting close. Outside, do your number, okay? Strong jab.
Here's Foreman. He did land a few heavy jabs on the head of Ellis, and there you saw the right cross right after the left hook.
Look, Jimmy, listen. Listen, I'm talking. Look, I'm fine, man. Let's go. All right, let's go. You boxing good. You fighting good.
Come on, looking beautiful. Don't gamble for nothing.
Well, Foreman again stood between rounds, as has been his custom in career number 2. Everybody talked in Ellis's corner. They were very excited. And you heard Angelo Dundee telling George Foreman, stay away from him. You don't belong close to him. Remember to box. That's Dundee in the background yelling, "Pop him, George." He wants to see the jab, Gil.
That's, well, you have to go lead with your best, and that's what George has. He'll discourage this kid with the jab alone. It gets to be a taming sequence, and all of a sudden Ellis right now is not throwing any punches at all.
But you said between rounds that he's likely to get very tired. Why is that?
Because of the tension. He's not used to this kind of competition. He's not used to fighting in front of a big crowd. A couple of good body shots by George.
Yeah, George dug a right and a left to the body. Ellis is trying to come back with sweeping punches. You can see that he throws wide when he throws.
His left hook is a little quick, Jim, but George has been able to block just about every left hook he's thrown.
George digs another left hand to the body, and now snaps Ellis's head back with a jab, and there's a left, and Ellis is wobbled. Heaviest-handed puncher in the business is George Foreman, and he knows how to finish better than anybody. He's got a chance to finish Jimmy Ellis right here if he wants to go to work.
And Ellis is showing a lot of courage. Wobbled, just threw it. There's that left hook that we mentioned. A little slow. George got a little careless. And Richard Steele is taking a good look at Jimmy Ellis right now.
His legs are wobbly. George has flipped him over the top a couple of times. Richard Steele, of course, has earned a reputation for stopping fights quickly. George wants him to stop it now.
George doesn't want to hurt this guy. I can see that.
George doesn't want to finish him off. George is carrying Jimmy Ellis late in the second round.
Jimmy, let it go. Let it go.
Well, Richard Steele is certainly taking a close look at Jimmy Ellis, and he's allowing him to take some very heavy punishment.
Well, maybe Steele is conscious of his own reputation, and now he's decided, no, he hasn't. He stopped him for a second and then came back away to allow Foreman to punch some more. And Jimmy Ellis has no idea where he is.
What happened there was Richard Steele did motion an end to the fight and quickly changed it. We have to remember he's been under fire before for the quick stoppage of Taylor Chavez and of Tyson Ruddock. And he could stop this fight before it continues into the third round, unless Ellis can pull himself out of it.
And Richard Steele walked away from the corner laughing to himself. I don't know what they said to him, but he turned around and walked away laughing.
I feel for Richard Steele. He has been under more pressure than a referee should be. He's a good referee, and this is a difficult situation
It's a
for
tough
him.
assignment for Richard Steele. Yeah, they didn't do him any favors.
Because of this pressure, Larry, has that made him indecisive?
Well,
Well, he sort of was decisive and then indecisive. But I think he did the right thing in the end. Ellis was able to go on.
Well, Ellis still looks woozy as round 3 begins. And George made very clear in the last round that he doesn't want to hurt the guy. So he's going to stick the jab. Ellis is being aggressive. Steele taking another close look as Jimmy Ellis wobbles against the ropes. Oh, and those are hard punches.
He's game, Ellis. He's game. He's trying to fire, but he just doesn't belong in there with the George Foreman.
George moves back to try to let Ellis fall, and Jimmy won't go down.
He should go down here and get himself a breather.
And what about George Foreman needing a breather? He may punch himself out a little bit.
Ellis just missed with that quick left hook. He has landed a couple of stunning blows on Foreman.
Doesn't have a leg under him, though, Ellis. He's just fighting on courage alone.
No holding, no push.
George just keeping him where he wants him. Moving him out right back into punching range. Now he's southpaw, George. Sticking the right jab.
And just tapping him. George seems frustrated that Steele wouldn't have stopped it up till then, and finally Richard Steele has seen it up. And now the crowd begins to boo. Tough moment for Richard Steele.
Standing up like you are.
2.5 rounds of George Foreman carrying Jimmy Ellis a little bit, waiting for Steele to stop it, and finally the referee does his duty.
Well, again, Jimmy Ellis has got plenty of heart, plenty of desire. He was an athlete, but he just does not have anywhere near the ability to be in this kind of a fight.
I think Richard Steele did the right thing in the end. He gave Ellis his courage, allowed him to finish the second round, and when he saw that it was a mismatch, he stopped it before anybody could get hurt. It was a very, very difficult moment for Richard Steele because of the fact that it's a mismatch. And one guy is if not an amateur, not a full professional on this level.
George Foreman landed 40 of 49 punches thrown in round number 3. A lot of them were just taps.
Look at how George is able to take his time and really measure this guy and hit him with just about anything he wants to hit him with.
Well, he's not a worthy opponent for George Foreman, and we made that clear from the beginning of the bout.
Again, why would they take if they thought this fighter was a prospect, why would they take this fight?
Well, for the $300,000+, one
That's
assumes.
the answer, but that they shot everything in one fight.
And there is Richard Steele finally stepping in to say that he had seen enough late in round number 3. And one more look at the continued withering punishment meted out by Foreman before Richard Steele made the stoppage. And as Larry Merchant pointed out, this was a mismatch. Steele's big moments, for which his career is in question, were in tough prize fights between Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock, and before that between Meldrick Taylor and Julio Cesar Chavez. This was different. Let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer now for the critical decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official time, 1 minute 36 seconds of the third round. The winner by TKO victory. The march goes on, ladies and gentlemen, for the winner by TKO, Big George Foreman.
Final punch stat numbers. Foreman threw 173 and landed 122. He was merciful with most of them. Ellis threw 91 punches and did pretty well. Landed 26 of them, and some of them were hard blows against Foreman's head. Gil Clancy, you said that Foreman's best punch is his jab. Look at that.
That's what he has. He's always had a good, solid jab. It's like a 2x4 coming out a window and hitting you in the nose.
Jimmy Ellis is still working to learn how to properly throw the jab. And now let's go up to Larry Merchant with the once and perhaps future king, George Foreman.
All right, George. Were you feeling sorry for him there in the second round? Did you let up?
Well, you know, I told you earlier in the dressing room, when a guy comes to George Foreman, it makes me a boxer. I hit him with a lot of hard shot and kind of hurt. He must have been a hell of a football player. A heavenly of a football player, that's for certain.
So you're saying that you really did carry him a little bit, maybe out of respect for the fact that he was trying so hard.
Hard, and I thought he was going to fall, and I let him loose for a moment. I said, he's not going to last long. The next thing I know, he started hitting me back. The guy's got a chin like a piece of stone.
He clipped you a few times. Any of them sting?
Yeah, he hit me with a good right hand that really hurt, and the left hook in the side that's still hurting right now. So the guy was a good puncher. I don't know who told me he wasn't anything. You see how you can believe everything? Now I'm hurting on my left, right side, and I got hit with a right hand. I'm in bad shape, but I'm going to make it.
What are the plans? We're going to take a look at the end there. Would you describe it for us?
Well, right now, just trying to find him with a hook and get it over with, because he's taking the hardest shots I've hit. And I think he's going to fall now. Don't hit him. Don't hit him. He's going to fall. But watch this. He comes back and starts hitting me. You just can't.
No respect for his elders.
No respect for his elders. Next time I fight, I need to have my gray hair. That'll show him. That'll teach him something. But I was a little too experienced as far as not knowing not to get in there and wade in there and try to mix it up with him, just stand back with the left jab. If I hadn't had that experience, he could have gotten a little
lucky on you.
Yeah, but so much experience. I've had the guys that stand off of me for years and use that jab. Now I'm giving it back to them.
What are your plans for the next 6 months or so as far as boxing is concerned?
The ultimate goal is to get down to the back 235. I'm 257 this time. I'll be 235 the next time. Then there's a great Olympian, Riddick Bowe, that my promoters have been talking about, and I think we're going to draw and have the whole world coming up to see two Olympians fight again. And then if Holyfield is ready, I'll fight him.
Thank you very much, George. Back to you, Jim and Gil.
All right, thank you very much, Larry, and thanks to George. Now, Gil, you told us about Richard Steele laughing as he walked away from Ellis's corner after round number 2. What was it about?
Yeah, I asked Richard about it. He said that they told him, don't stop the fight. He can take a good punch. And Richard said, not that good. He can take a good punch. What about the guys in the corner? You don't win fights taking punishment.
Oh, and it might have been a little bit unfair if they had tried to send him out there again at the end of the 3rd round like the one that he was suffering through at that point. Of course, Richard Steele himself was part of the story, as we mentioned. After the stoppages in Taylor Chavez and in Ruddock, Tyson won. His career was a little bit in question. How do you feel he acquitted himself tonight?
Well, I thought he did very, very well. He recognized that this kid had a lot of courage and a lot of heart, took the punishment, was never on the deck, and he allowed him to continue. At the one moment that looked like he was going to stop the fight, he decided to let the kid go on. The bell rang, got back to the corner, but there wasn't much to it after that.
Foreman let 7 months go by after his triumph of sorts against Holyfield. Then he comes back with a match like this. In the meantime, you had the continued development of fighters like Riddick Bowe and Ray Mercer and, of course, Lennox Lewis and Michael Moore, all of whom are becoming heavyweight contenders. Has George done himself a disservice in these 7 months by going backward a little bit?
Well, again, George's secret of success the last time, career number 2, was keeping busy. What he has to do is fight about every 6 weeks. If he lays off 4 or 5 months at a time, he's going to come back. He was a little bit off tonight, a little bit slow. He wasn't punching as fast as he usually does. He has to keep active, and for an old guy, that's kind of tough.
Assuming Holyfield keeps the title, you think George will get another title shot?
Well, again, everything depends on what happens in Indianapolis with Mike Tyson in January.
What do you think, Larry Merchant, assuming that Evander Holyfield is able to keep the title, given the presence of the young contenders whom I mentioned, is George likely to get another title shot?
Well, I think it's going to come down to economics and, of course, Tyson's situation. I'm not sure, as some other people, that Holyfield will give George another fight. He's a very tough competitor, and he may decide to go ahead and fight some of the younger guys, particularly because he's not too much in love with George for beating him out of $1.5 million in a kind of a nuisance suit.
Yeah, let's explain that one. Foreman was used, in the view of many, as a bargaining chip by both sides in the Tyson-Holyfield negotiations before that fight was signed. And then afterward, George filed a $100 million lawsuit against Evander Holyfield and his management because he said he had a commitment from the Dubas to fight Evander prior to Evander signing the contract for Tyson. And the upshot of that, as you point out, is that George got some money.
Yeah, there are just too many things that can happen between now and whenever to speculate seriously. The important thing tonight is, as far as George Foreman was concerned, he was fed a cream puff, took his time in devouring him, but in the end, he got him. Some high marks to Jimmy Ellis for giving his best. I wish he had had 10 or 15 more fights, 2 more years of gym time, so that he might even be able to give a better account of himself.
He was game.
And finally, let's take this last opportunity to salute Rafael Pineda. We have somebody who can be a force in boxing and who I hope we see again and soon on HBO.
Hey, I got one more question for you. Foreman has another fight here on HBO under his present contract with us. Could he get away with fighting another cream puff like this one?
I suppose he could. It's going to be up to a number of people to decide who he wants to fight. Obviously, he's one of the best managed fighters of all time, since he more or less manages himself and looks at tapes of potential opponents, doesn't want to fight anybody who can move too far away from his fists, doesn't want to fight anybody who can punch too hard, and save himself for the one big effort at a big fight that may be down the road. So can he get away with it? I think you'd have to ask the people here whether they'd come to see him again, and perhaps they are so much in love with him that they would.
Our executive producer, Ross Greenberg, just whispered in my ear, no more Jimmy Ellis's, I'll tell you that. So we'll have to wait and see how our dealings with Big George go as we wait for him to come back and join us. Hey, incidentally, because George has been training and fighting, we had a chance to work with you, and I can't tell you what a thrill it's been, Gil. Thanks a lot.
And it's been a lot of fun for me too, Jim. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thanks very much. Once again, let's size up the evening. Big crowd came here hoping to see a spectacular performance by George Foreman. They didn't really get a chance to see that, but they saw a spectacular knockout in a not-so-spectacular fight by Rafael Pineda as he put away the veteran Roger Mayweather in the 9th round with one sweeping left hook bang, and that made him the IBF Junior Welterweight Champion of the world. Then George Foreman entered the ring to fight against former football player Jimmy Ellis in Ellis's 18th pro fight. And it was a methodical TKO for Foreman late in the 3rd round as he pounded away at Ellis until referee Richard Steele finally saw fit to draw a halt to the proceedings. So, that's the business of championship boxing, and even if you missed last week's much-talked-about debut of Play-by-Play, A History of Sports Television, you'll still be able to enjoy Game 2, an unprecedented retrospective that captures the milestones and achievements of over 50 years of sports television. Be sure to join Jim McKay, Bob Costas, Pat Stummerall, Brent Musburger, Kurt Gowdy, and myself on Tuesday, December 10 at 10 o'clock Eastern and Pacific Time. Then Boxing on Pay-Per-View returns December 13 when TVKO presents a triple-header. That's next Friday night. James Toney defending his IBF middleweight title against Mike McCallum. Also on the card, Charles Murray takes on Livingstone Bramble, and we'll see the up-and-coming heavyweight Riddick Bowe. And on HBO, our next telecast of World Championship Boxing returns January 18 with a knockout doubleheader. Undisputed lightweight champion Pernell Whitaker in the first bout, to be followed by WBA welterweight champion Meldrick Taylor, putting his title on the line against the very tough Glenwood Brown. Now, stay tuned immediately following tonight's boxing coverage for Predator 2 on the East Coast and Die Hard 2 on the West Coast. For Larry Merchant and Gil Clancy and Harold Letterman, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Reno, Nevada. The executive producer of HBO Sports is Ross Greenberg. Tonight's telecast produced by Michael Whalen and directed by Mark Payton. The replay producer was Brian McDonald. Associate directors Kendall Reed and Kirby Bradley. The feature producer was Steve Salvatore. The assistants to the producer were Adam Berger, Dave Leapson, and Artie Curry. The production manager was Russell Gabay. And the technical supervisor was Robert Hunter.